territorial chest thumping developing among current and former U.S. regulators following SEC Chair Gary Gensler's comments that many cryptocurrencies are securities. Former CFTC Chair Chris Giancarlo tweeting, "Only one U.S. regulatory agency has experience regulating markets for Bitcoin and crypto, and it is not the SEC. It is the CFTC. If Biden administration is serious about sensible cryptocurrency regulation, it needs to nominate a CFTC chairman." And CFTC Commissioner Brian Quintenz tweeting, "Just so we're all clear here, the SEC has no authority over pure commodities or their trading venues, whether those commodities are wheat, gold, oil, or crypto assets." And joining us now to discuss is Reba Beeson, General Counsel at AlphaPoint, a software firm powering crypto exchanges worldwide. Welcome, Reba. So the debate is heating up on which regulators should police crypto and which cryptocurrencies are securities and which are not. And so I'm wondering, what do you make of these comments by the former CFTC and current commissioner, as we have heard from Gary Gensler as well this week, on trying to figure out how these regulations and jurisdictions and authorities should play out?
Hi, Christine. Thank you for that question, and it's good to be with you today. So I think in order to answer that question, it's good to put a perspective on the U.S. regulatory landscape. There always have been these various agencies, and there also has always been some struggle from time to time on their wanting to protect their particular area of expertise and domain. So I don't think there's not much new there in that territory. What really is new is the crypto markets and the development of those markets in the U.S. And as you probably well know, Senator Toomey has been following this closely, especially most recently as he's been one of the advocates for amendments to that crypto provision in the U.S. infrastructure bill. He said that 13% of Americans are already engaged in cryptocurrency. So that's 43 million people. And that means there's clear demand and there's opportunity for the U.S. to lead in this technology sector. But in order to do that, there's going to have to be some clarity on the regulatory front. And in that regard, I think it's appropriate for the various agencies to step in, try to understand what their appropriate domain should be, and try to reach a consensus on it. And that brings into the fold the regulatory and the legislative branches as far as that's concerned, and any other policymaker.
Right. Reba, the SEC has already said that Bitcoin and Ether are commodities and not securities, but the rest of the digital asset space does not have the benefit of that clarity. So does the confusion outline how the old rules don't apply so neatly into crypto, and perhaps maybe a new regulatory framework or body needs to be created for digital assets?
Well, I think there's a part of the old and the new. So as it relates to the old, there are advocates to say that we don't need too much more clarity on what constitutes a security for U.S. purposes under the SEC rules, because that's been clarified over the years through case law and guidance from the SEC and otherwise. There are others who say, on the other hand, that in that world in which those sets of rules have been promulgated and guidance has been provided, don't really fit within this crypto domain, and especially how to determine whether something is a security or not. So I think it's going to have to be a consensus that's reached on what we can use from the old, but bring into the new as we have use cases that need to be further developed. Part of this will continue to be done through legislation, but more importantly, I think the courts are going to become better, well-equipped to understand the issues and to promulgate rules through case law.
Interesting. And while the SEC and CFTC sort of duke it out, there is also Congress, and the Senate is about to pass a $1 trillion infrastructure bill that aims to generate $28 billion in taxes from crypto investors. Do we even know where they got these numbers from? And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this legislation.
So first, to your question about where do these numbers come from, it's not clear. I don't believe that there is a very well thought endeavor to capture that number. It's unclear how enhanced tax reporting is going to generate the $28 billion. And I believe that currently it's being evaluated by the CBO. And those numbers, whatever numbers are promulgated by them, might be more insightful. But certainly there's going to be some push to get this legislation passed. I think that the amendments that have been proffered by Senators Wyden, Loomis, and Toomey will be very helpful, because they do exclude software developers, miners, node operators, and others who clearly are just not brokers in this space. And those are the types of participants that actually don't have private information about taxpayers, nor should they. And so they wouldn't be able to comply with the tax details that are being required.
You know, on that first part of the question, I'm interested in, how did they calculate? And we still don't know why, but I'm wondering, does this revenue come from crypto investors who should be paying taxes but aren't, or does it expand what crypto investors can be taxed for?
My belief is that it's coming from the existing rule that the IRS has promulgated starting, I believe, in about 2014, in which the IRS declared that crypto is property and subject to tax as such. And so taxpayers are already required to pay tax on cap gains for their investments in crypto. So I think it's more being driven by a lack of understanding of how the rules apply, and maybe a general lack of knowledge by the investor community about the fact that crypto is taxed as property and is subject to those rules. So this, I think, would be more of an effort by the Treasury Department and IRS involved in that to clarify that point and to promulgate more specific rules around the requirements.